On today's episode of Watch Jared Go, we are out in the F-250 on a mission. You guys know what that means. We are headed to buy a car. And this car is sort of something that's been on the channel before, but it may be 1,000 times more reliable. Let's go. What is going on, guys? I am Watch Jared Go, and like I said, I am here in the F-250. We are on a mission to buy a car. We just saw the state trooper Challenger go flying by, and I thought I saw another one coming. I was like, uh-oh. But he had his lights on. I'm here with 100% Jake. He jumped in the truck because he wanted to get a free massage, I think. That was the only reason. And we're going to pick up a Jag S-Type that is not an R. This time it is boring. Not only boring, it was probably cheaper than the automatics because this one is a manual. So this was posted in the Hoovie's garage group yesterday, and everyone said, we're calling Watch Jared Go. And you guys know me, I always respond to the Watch Jared Go signal. So we hopped in the truck, offered the guy more money than he was asking, which is insane. We're gonna change the deal back to what he's asking, because this is another one of those nightmare marketplace scenarios. Just like the Beretta was, this went exactly the same. I reached out to the guy. I'd read all the messages, but people got mad last time. Obviously, I'm in the middle of nowhere. I don't even have to hold the wheel. It would be okay. So I reached out to the guy, and the first thing I said was, can I come look at this tomorrow? Because it was like midnight, basically. And he said, sure, I get off work at 3:30. And I was like, cool, we'll be there at 3:30. We're getting there a few minutes after 3:30, right on the dot, like I said. And then I said, I'll give you your money if your title's in hand. And he said, it is in hand. And I said, will it make it back to Wichita? He was like, I don't see why not. That's good enough for me. So we hopped in the car and headed straight there. And of course, as we're like trying to leave, he's like, there's another guy coming right now. He has cash in hand too, whoever gets here first. I was like, dude, don't do, I'm driving like 2 hours. And I was like, I'll give you $50 more not to sell it to him. So he was cool with that. He said money talks. Obviously, I don't want to waste a trip that's going to take us 4 hours total, plus food, plus fuel. I mean, it cost me a lot of money to run to Kansas City. It's not free. So anyway, we're doing that right now. And I think the other guy's out because then he texted me, it seems like the other guy doesn't have enough money. So we're back to our 2,000. I'm keeping my $50 that was extortion. And we're going to try to buy this S-Type right now and drive it home. So let's get on the road, get this thing filled up with diesel, and enjoy the flatness of Kansas. Maybe even a hill or two. Oh, wow. Yeah, it's crazy out here.
Yeah, this car's slow, boring, and manual, so you know I'm on board for this. This is my thing.
Yes, sir. And now we are in Topeka, Kansas, where the car is. We should see it within 1 minute here. We're gonna go through this light, and we should be at this guy's house. And I'm just hoping, the car's still here, honestly. Because he hasn't said anything since. I was like, I'm on the turnpike, I have your cash, so as long as the car is sitting in a driveway over here, we're good to go.
Yeah, it's not a terrible neighborhood either.
No, not a terrible neighborhood.
Kind of neat houses, honestly.
That guy owns a post office truck, so that's pretty cool. Rare. It's a rare bird. So it should be right here.
Your destination is on the left. I don't see... Oh, there it is.
Hey, a Jag. And the guy. Cool. All right, we're gonna go check this car out, and we'll be right back with you guys. It says no parking anytime, but we're gonna park. It turns out the seller of the Jag was actually awesome, and it was just like a lot of messages, and you know, it's tough being in that position where everybody wants a car that you're trying to sell. I totally get it. When we talked about the car, he told me everything that he'd done to it. We have a long list of things that he's done to it, but it runs and drives. It started right up. It has a manual and a Duratec, so I do think it's gonna be a pretty reliable car. First, Jake and I have to stop and get food. Then we're gonna grab some fuel, get back on the road, get this thing home where we can actually talk about it, walk around it, and check the car out. It looks pretty good. Maybe these wheels will clean up. Let's see. He said the tires match except for one, which is pretty cool. And really only the front end looks a little iffy there, just because that plastic spoiler is upset. It looks like that might try to leave us on the way home. It's staying. All right, that's an S-Type. It's
50% off. That's a heck of a discount.
We did get it for exactly $2,000. So let's get some food.
Honestly, as rough as it is, this is the nicest S-Type I've ever seen.
Isn't it? They're mostly beat. The fuel door was frozen shut on the S-Type, but we were filling up the White Mafia here. The truck was completely empty because we had to run to get here in such a hurry. So in a couple of minutes, we will be on the road and back home where we can finally check this very icy S-Type out. This is my new to me 2003 Jag S-Type, and as you can see, the old 3-liter and manual combination got me home last night. So we're gonna jump into the drive here in just a bit, but first I wanted to take a minute to talk about the S-Type. Now, this is not my first S-Type. It's not the first S-Type on the channel, and for some reason this channel is like a home for Jag content. I don't even know why, but I've had an XJ6 Sovereign, I've had an XJ8 now, I've had an S-Type R, another 03 or 04, and then I just did the F-Type S, of course, and now we are here with my newest acquisition, the S-Type 3.0 with a manual in it. So, 2003, this is into the mid-cycle refresh of the S-Type. The S-Type was a replacement for the old XJ6, of course, and this was built in the Ford era, so it got the Ford Duratec 3.0 liter engine. Now, it's not just the Duratec 3.0, it is a special engine developed by Ford and Jag with Jag heads, variable valve timing, and 30 more horsepower over the standard Duratec. And if I leave any of that out, I know I will get yelled at by the Jag guys. So I have to denote that yes, it's a Ford engine, just like the F-Type secretly is. And it's a special Ford engine, just like the F-Type secretly is. So that gets us over the engine here. It makes 241 horsepower, 216 foot-pounds of torque, and it will do 0 to 60 in a reasonable-ish 6 seconds. That 6 seconds is definitely a little bit more of a 7 because it's 6.9, but still counts. It's still 6 seconds. So this car is platform shared with the Lincoln LS, and I know a lot of people love their Lincoln LSs, and I'd love to have one on the channel, but they are all beat, and I'm not gonna pay more than $2,000 for one, and it has to be really clean, which is incidentally exactly what I paid for this, $2,000, and it's sort of clean. Not only is it the Lincoln LS, it's also the underpinnings for the Ford Thunderbird, which somehow looks a million times longer and somehow even shorter. So those are the vehicles the S-Type shares its platform with. Now the S-Type is actually really awesome. I kind of fell in love with this thing driving it a little over 2 hours home. It's got HIDs, it's got normal halogen high beams. The HIDs, at first I just love them, but the beam cutoff is terrible. They are aimed about 4 foot in front of the car. Now, maybe it was in a front-end collision that I don't see a lot of indications of, but it was definitely in a rear-end collision at some time because I opened the trunk and I saw there's some metal that's been moved out of the way and then moved back. But that said, overall, this car, pretty straight, and for $2,000, and it getting me home, I can't really complain. Anyway, behind that Duratec is a 5-speed manual. It's a Jetrag 221, and it shifts great, I gotta say. It's a really solid transmission. The engine makes great power. I can't complain about that at all. But 241 horsepower, it's not crazy, but this car's motivated, let's put it that way. You put your foot in it and you're like, okay. Yeah, it's not fast, but okay, it's exactly what it needs to be for a sort of a compact sedan, basically. Definitely not a big body, but I like the size and I love the way this car looks. Anyway, it's got fog lights up here with the lighting package, and let's move on to the back here. Obviously, the rearview mirror that was there when we picked it up is suddenly missing. More about that here in a few, and it's just nice. It does have some really weird quirks like Harley stickers in the middle of the mirrors and on the back glass and fun stuff like that, but let's go ahead and hop inside and go on a tour of the S-Type here. This is apparently the quick detach mirror option. I'm gonna go ahead and set that on the dash. Right in front of me here, we have a very simple instrument cluster. It's got coolant temp, the tach, speedometer, and a fuel gauge. And it doesn't really tell you any of the information I'd like to know, like oil pressure, oil temp, but you know what? It'll show you a check engine light if anything's really wrong. That's kind of what they were expecting with a car in this segment. Anyway, right in front of me, we've got some nice steering wheel controls. We've got channel, track, volume, voice activation, select for the audio right here, and cruise control works completely. We'll resume, set buttons, and cancel there on the wheel. Auto headlights, I love that it has auto headlights and they work. It's got what are not rain sensing wipers. There's not even a rain sensor in there. I better double check. No rain sensor. So you have to set your wipers manually. Not much of a luxury thing there, but hey, it works. Over here on the left-hand side of the dash, we have the miles and kilometers, the metric and freedom units button right there. AB trips, reset for the trip, front fog light, rear fog light, and the cluster dimming. And then down here, the release for the fuel door and the release for the trunk. So that is basically all of the buttons. What it does have, very cool power tilt telescope wheel. Cannot complain about that, and it can be auto as well. We've got a bunch of auto windows over on the driver's door, and apparently missing speaker grill, power mirrors as you'd expect, electric locks. These definitely one touch down, and they might even one touch up. I do know the driver's window is one touch up, and that's honestly good enough for me on a $2,000 deal. Here in the center, we do not have the navigation, which is very unfortunate. I wanted to retrofit it, but you have to add so much stuff to the car, including a DVD drive, a navigation processor, and then of course replace everything here in the U-shaped center console. So it does have auto climate control. It's very nice. The audio sounds really good for what it is, and everything works in there. Hazards, traction control. Let's see what we got here. Ooh, doesn't want to open. We'll just leave that alone. It doesn't like to work very well. One way you can tell this car is an 03 is it has this electronic parking brake with the little paddle activation. We'll talk more about that here in a moment. We have what should be the cup holders right here, but they're missing. A center console I haven't opened yet. You have to come forward, and that locks. How do you open it? You just pull up? Okay, it's locked. Well, apparently, you just don't. There is a center console back there, and it is full of junk, but it won't open. Add that to the list of things that are wrong with this car. We'll work on that another time. Up here in the upper center console, we've got some incredibly bright lighting. It works great. Broken. Oh, I'm just gonna not touch that again. We'll see if it holds. And what should be lighted mirrors and these very, very, very plush, I have to say, sun visors, but the lights don't work. So that's the cockpit. The only other thing to say is this car is really, really dirty. It was definitely driven to work, like some real work. I need to get some baby wipes in here. Well, we'll get to that when we clean this thing up, but I think it might clean up. There's a good chance most of this grime will come off the steering wheel and it will change colors back to the light tan that it's supposed to be. In the glove box, we have basically nothing there except a receipt for a replacement battery, and that was in 2016. So I'm gonna say that that battery is probably not even in this thing anymore. There's a pen holder, so that's pretty much it. Oh, the valet button is also in there, and of course you can lock the glove box if you want to turn the valet mode on and then keep them from turning it back off. Let's hop in the back. Right here in the back we have these really nice Jag door sills. I love the way those look, machined and then polished in the middle. Here on the back doors we also have little ashtrays because this does have the smoker's package, and here's like the rest of the car. Speaker grill, no Alpine logo, so it's the base system. Cup holders. This stuff's all gross. And $10! Hey! Boy, that is nasty, but it's real. Okay, I thought it might be prop money when I found that. There's some quarters, a bunch of change actually. There's a zone of climate for back here. You can't really control it, just on off on the vents, but hey, that's kind of nice. You can position the air, and the cup holders are supposed to pop out right there. They're both completely broken. There's probably no cup holders here. No cup holders confirmed. There you go. That's the back of the S-Type. It's got latch if you got child seats. It'll actually take 3 child seats. 3 sets of latch back here. Okay. See if there's any more money. What's this? This is just like a deed to Microsoft. It's just a report card. Can't show you that. I had to fix this. I was losing my mind not being able to see out of the mirror. Sorry. Had to take a quick break. Smells terrible. Coming around the back, we have cool features like parking sensors. So that was actually pretty awesome to have in 03. The back of this car looks great. You push the Jag logo in to open the trunk, which has some nice springs. The escape hatch here. Okay, that's nice. I'm glad that actually sticks back up. And apparently it's been hauling hay or something like that. This is broken. What else do we have in here? spare. Recent-ish battery, it looks like. A lot of hay though, just like, and I have normal amount of hay in this car. I guess any amount is kind of abnormal. That should probably be the CD changer. It appears I do not have the CD changer at all. I don't see it anywhere, so. Well, my hopes and dreams are ruined. I was expecting to have the CD changer. It has the single disc. We've seen most of this car now. Let's head around to the front and get this hood open. Another way you can tell this car is post refresh is it has that Jag logo on the grille, and also it's a US car, not an Australian car, because it has the leaper on the hood there. So a couple quirks. Not all countries ended up with all this. So the hood struts are bad. It would not be my car if it had hood struts, as we know. So here we have that crazy 3-liter Duratec intake with this like folded intake system to make the runners the same length. And honestly, it's kind of cool looking. No noise from any of the tensioners, no power steering pump noise. Everything up here seems very solid. The guy I bought it from said that he's just put a radiator in it, which you can tell. The radiator's clearly brand new right there. And the battery looks pretty recent, like I said. He also just put a fuel pump in it and spent nearly $1,000 on that fuel pump. And I know they charge $1,000 for the drop-in unit. That's actually a real thing. But O'Reilly sells the actual pump for like $88. And there's only like 2 pump options, so you can just put an $88 pump in it. I think he said he paid $1,200 for the fuel pump. So he basically just gave me the car for what he spent on parts. And this is just a marketplace deal. It's not like it was somebody I knew. So electronic throttle body, drive-by-wire. He said the math is probably bad. A mechanic had just told him that. Clearly there's a bunch of new hoses in here, but it looks like it's pretty solid. I don't have much else to say. Could probably use valve cover gaskets. And the reason they probably haven't done the valve cover gaskets is because that's gotta come off. That looks like a lot of work. The vacuum routing diagram, not the routing. It's been routed. I guess now that we know the routing, we can shut the bonnet. We already shut the boot. Now, let's take this thing out on the road and actually we'll drive it home. That's probably what we're gonna do now, is use a time machine and drive the car home. Driving my 3-pedal S-Type. Well, we are out on the highway and I've driven this thing around for a little bit, and I gotta say, what a solid manual transmission. It definitely always finds the gear you want. You don't have to think about it. The one thing about the manual that I kind of hate is when you turn the car off, it automatically sets the electronic parking brake. And I don't love electronic parking brakes. And when I drive a manual, I never, ever, ever set the e-brake. Maybe if it's on a hill. But other than like San Francisco level hills, there's no reason to leave the car in anything but first or reverse for me. Always in first if I'm driving. Some people believe in reverse, and some manual cars require you to put them in reverse. Some BMWs and stuff like that, before the cars will actually shut down and go into their low power states. Now, this car doesn't care where you're at, but it does set the brake, even if you leave it in gear. I found that out very quickly. That's not really a driving thing, it's more of a quirk thing, but we are out on the highway, bombing down the road to get back to Wichita, and the front end is twitchy. Very, very twitchy. But what a grand touring car this is. It's got plenty of power from that V6. It's the 3-liter Duratec V6. I'm in love with that. We got a check engine light, we have the engine coolant low light, we got an airbag light, but cruise control works, which is massive for me. I absolutely love when I pick up a car and cruise works, because I can't tell you how many times the cruise is completely gone. I do want to show you how twitchy the front end is. You've got a good view of the road and the steering wheel here, and we'll give it a bump, and you can see it moves around so much with just the slightest steering input. And I don't love that. It is dead on center. You can let go of the wheel. It's not pulling either way, but it's just really twitchy when you give it some steering input. It's just a little bit odd. But that said, lots of power, comfortable. I gotta say it's comfortable. I don't think there's any heated seats, which would be really nice today. And there's also a good chance the blend doors aren't working properly. I've got it set to feet and my toes are freezing. It is, it says it's 34 outside on the dash, and that seems right. The watch says it's 35, so we're gonna give the old ambient temp props on that one. It's still working. 130 something thousand miles on this car, and it's doing great. Rocking down the highway. Cruise works, like I said. Steering wheel controls work. Ambient air temp works. It's got a lot going for it. Look how bright the F-250 is. It's not bad at all. It's not bothering me, but I look up and I'm like, oh yeah, that thing is wild. It's got some headlights. Hopefully this is the only update on the car the entire way home. It's full of fuel, should be ready to go. If anything happens, you guys will be the first to know. The more I drive this car, the more I think the alignment's just way off. I need to get it on a rack and actually check that out. I don't feel any slop in the front end, but maybe that is what's happening. Maybe it's steering over center and then kind of snapping into position. Hopefully it's not bad hardware. Hopefully it's just, you know, a poor alignment. Maybe cheap tires, one of the two. But we will find out as we get home. So I reached up to adjust my rear view mirror and it exploded off the windshield. Luckily I was able to kind of catch it by shoving my knee over there and trying to like sandwich it with my hand as fast as I could. But now I have no rear view mirror and it doesn't look like it's the easiest thing to snap back on. It's definitely one of those ones that's held on by like a clip where you slide it in there, turn it 90 degrees or something like that. But that's kind of hard to do while you're driving. And also the power for the auto dimming isn't there either. I don't see the connector. It's on the mirror, but I don't see it in the headliner at all. So I got to try to probably fish out that connector. I did notice that it wouldn't dim. I was trying to change between auto and off and nothing was happening. So that explains a lot. The fact that the mirror is not even attached to the windshield. So we'll chalk that up to another problem for future me to solve. But this thing has another redeeming quality. The audio system is excellent for being the base system. Now I'm sure it's Alpine. Even typically the base systems in Jags are Alpine something, and they just kind of step up with better amplifiers, more speakers. But this thing sounds really good. The old owner left a CD in here and I've been rocking out the whole trip so far. And I gotta say, having music for a 2-hour plus trip home makes all the difference. So this Jag's doing pretty well in my book. The Jag has a new noise that you can only hear when you stop. Guys hear that? That is a very, very bad exhaust rattle. Who knows what it is? We could hear a slight exhaust leak before. It kind of gave it a nice sound actually. But now it has that terrible rattle in there, like there's a heat shield that's loose or a cat that's broken. Who knows? It's got a new noise though, I can tell you that much. A 2-hour trip home, over 130 miles, and we used just a hair over a quarter tank of fuel. Honestly, what a good car. Nothing really went wrong other than the attack of the rear view mirror there. So I'm chalking this one up to a win. I got to drive it home with cruise on. Nice drive, heat. I listened to the entire Police Greatest Hits, which is what was left in the CD player there. And honestly, the system sounded pretty good. So far, every window I've tried works. This is one awesome hoopty. Also, it's not lugging in 5th gear at 30 right now. For some reason, when you're going like 10 and you're trying to drive in 2nd, it lugs really hard. So far, the S-Type has been infinitely better than my Infiniti, and I'm pretty excited about that. We've got a few things we got to figure out, that's for sure. I mean, it has its share of problems, but it was so cheap for what is a lot of car, I have to say. If you pick one of these up for $2,000 a day, especially with that manual transmission, you're gonna love it, and you don't have to fret about transmission problems. And of course, in my S-Type R, we had to put a transmission in that immediately. That was the first problem. And with this drivetrain, I don't think the drivetrain's gonna break. It just has a lot of other little issues that are no big deal compared to swapping transmissions. Well, the day you buy the car. So that is my new to me 2003 Jag S-Type 3.0 with a manual transmission. It's gotta be crazy rare. I heard there were only 3 manual wagons in these, so there can't be that many more manual sedans. Anyway, tomorrow we'll dig into this and try to find all the problems with it. We'll do a real inspection, hopefully get it up on the lift, pull the codes, and see just how bad it is. It can't be that bad, like I said. Anyway, that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to head on over to shop.watchjrgo.com for cool shirts just like this. And please like, share, subscribe, do whatever you want to do, and I will talk to you next time. What you doing, Truffles? You don't like the S-Type? Truffles, you do like the car though, right? I like it. Man, she does not like it at all. Crazy.